Welcome to Distressed to Joyful, Bailey's Way. I'm your host, Bailey Raber, here to enlighten you and the rest of the world about one of the most misunderstood mental health disorders out there, bipolar disorder. In each episode, we'll learn more about my personal journey with bipolar 2 disorder, how I've struggled with it, and how I've learned to overcome those struggles. Together, we'll laugh, we'll cry, and most importantly, we'll have fun. You'll leave each episode feeling hopeful and stocked full of useful information on how you can better yourself and the world around you. Hello, friends. Wow, so sorry about that. So I don't have a whole ton of announcements today. I do have something fun to share if you're on YouTube and you can see this cute little strapless outfit I'm wearing. It's actually one of the rompers that I made. So some of you guys might remember this, some of you might not, but in 2021, I challenged myself to make a romper for every single holiday. And I used the same pattern. So every single romper started with the same base, and then I tweaked it and made changes and adjustments, and I made a total of 8, I believe. So this is the Be Mine Valentine's Day one. I'm very festive. Actually, fun fact, Monish and I, we both took Duke to a little Valentine's puppy party at a bar right down the street from where we live. It was so much fun. He was a little bit overwhelmed. He was scared of one of the dogs that barked in his face. It was really rude, but he did well. I think, enjoyed it. He's very tired. He's been exhausted. I think that we definitely overstimulated him today, but it was fun. We got to walk him down there. He was wearing one of his Valentine's neckties that I have in my Etsy shop if anybody wants one for their puppy. But yeah. So I'm going to put the link to the year of the romper. That's what I called the little challenge I made up for myself. But I'm going to put that link in today's show notes in case you just want to see what I have made and what I did, but more than just this one Valentine's romper. But speaking of the rompers and creativity, guys, I think that the creativity that I have, I actually think a lot of that comes from my bipolar disorder. I think that, if you stop and you look at a lot of the famous artists and musicians and actors, and there's a lot of people around the world who have also struggled with bipolar disorder. Van Gogh was thought to have it. That was before there was a name for this disorder. I believe Selena Gomez has bipolar disorder. Demi Lovato. I'm pretty positive it's Demi Lovato. Oh my God, I'm shooting myself in the foot here. I'm going to find out who exactly it is and stick it in the show notes. So, whoops. Anyways, but yeah, so that got a little sidetracked. So, again, I don't have many announcements today, so we're going to go ahead and jump into today's episode, which is what I learned about my bipolar disorder while traveling abroad. So I was recently in India. If you've been tuning in, you know I was there for my recent marriage to my husband Monish, who was born and raised in India. And we were there for a total of 6 weeks, minus 5 days in between when we went to Thailand for a little mini honeymoon. But we were gone for a long time. We were away from home for 6 weeks. And I honestly did not prepare myself enough for this. I thought I was better equipped, and I learned that I was wrong. So let me tell you guys about what happened, what I experienced, and what I've learned, and how I will better manage my bipolar disorder on trips moving forward. So most of this is coming from the heart, so if I'm getting a little stuttery or a little sidetracked, I'm sorry. I don't have my handy-dandy list in front of me today. But one of the things that I did not really take into consideration is, so first of all, if you have never been to India and if you don't know much about Indian culture, let me just tell you, it is a whole nother world. India is nothing like the U.S. Nothing like it. I can't really I can't really think about a lot of things that are similar. It's very, very, very different, which is not a bad thing. Not at all. I love India. But the biggest difference is the amount of overstimulation that is happening on a daily basis in that country. It is very loud. It is very smelly. I mean, there's pollution. You can smell your neighbor cooking. Like, everybody has open doors and windows all the time, so you can smell all the things. There is cows that are walking around like stray cats that are pooping everywhere. So you have to be careful not to step in cow shit when you're walking around. That's a true story, true fact. There is just so much to see, so much going on, so much happening. So there's a bunch of visuals, a bunch of sounds, a bunch of smells. Those are the big, big, big ones. And also, because it's a very, very overpopulated country, it recently surpassed China with the largest population in the world. That happened in 2022 when I was in India for the first time. It might not still be accurate, but I do know March 2022, we read an article about that. Just leaving that there. But they are very small in size as a country, like the actual space. So it's very, very densely populated. And when you are densely populated, people are used to being shoulder to shoulder and in each other's faces and very close. And that's not at all like how things are in the US, especially after COVID. It's very keep your distance, stay away from me. If somebody accidentally bumps into you, oh, I'm so sorry, especially if you're from the South. Whereas in India, if you're in line, it's like back to back, literally smashed up together. There's no space in between, nothing like that. So again, there's nothing wrong with any of this. This is just how they live over there, which is different from how we live in the US. But what I did not take into consideration is, that overstimulation that I get when I'm in India, that's fine for small periods of time, specifically anything 3 weeks or less. So being there for a total of 6 weeks, that was a very, very long time to be overstimulated every single day. Constantly every single day. And that caused me to break down on 2 different occasions. Yep, 2 different occasions I had breakdowns. And when I say breakdowns, I went into depression both of those times to where I just didn't get up. One of those days, I literally just laid around and watched Netflix in a closed room by myself all day long because I just couldn't take it. I couldn't be around any people. I just need some alone time, some space. So the biggest thing that we learned in terms of travel is that when I say me and my husband, we overviewed all of this together and kind of sorted these things out. But it's that I should not travel anywhere for more than 3 weeks at one time. 3 weeks is a long time to be away from home. So doubling that 6 weeks, that's too much. I got homesick. Both those times that I got depressed, I was homesick. So that is a new limit that we have set for me. Now, Moni grew up in India. He grew up there. He loves it. So the first time we went to India, I actually left before he did. He stayed a week and a half longer than me. And so he was there for a little over a month while I was only there for about 3 weeks. And that's how we're going to do things moving forward. I will come. I will stay no more than 3 weeks. If he wants to stay, he can stay by all means. I need to get my ass back to Texas or wherever I'm living in the United States at that time. So that is something, but something else that I really also did not even cross my mind, you guys, was the cycles of my episodes. So those of you who also have bipolar disorder, or if you are in close relations to somebody who has it, you may understand that our episodes come in waves. We will have our depressive episodes. We'll start to feel balanced. We'll have our hypomanic episodes. Maybe we'll drop back down to depression and swing back up or go in the middle. Sometimes there's not a rhyme and reason. Sometimes there's not a rhyme or reason to when they happen. Other times they are triggered. Sometimes they are on a schedule and things will happen specific times of the year. I know that up until recently, the last 3 Thanksgivings excluding 2023, I got depressed every single time. And that's because I stopped having Thanksgiving with my family of origin in 2020. So depression hit then. It hit in 2022. Oh, sorry, 2021, I can't count. It hit in 2020, 2021, and 2022 like clockwork, the week of Thanksgiving, all 3 of those years. Boom, depression, boom, depression, boom, depression. So this past year, 2023, we made an effort to change things so that it wouldn't happen. And it worked. That's a little sidetracked. So back to episodes. They come and they go and they swing. And I've never really dealt with any bipolar elongated episodes while on vacation. I've never been depressed while on vacation, and I've never been hypomanic on vacation as far as I'm aware. But this time, being away from home for 6 whole weeks, being in a new environment for 6 whole weeks, living in another country with no routine for 6 whole weeks. Guys, that was a recipe for bipolar episode to swoop on in and take over. Like that was not great. I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about how not having a routine for 6 weeks was going to fuck with my bipolar disorder. I had no idea. Didn't even cross my mind. And that's part of why this episode is here today. Because here's the thing. I love traveling, and I will never stop traveling. I will never, ever, ever allow my bipolar disorder to get in the way of traveling, and you shouldn't either. But there are ways to better prepare and take care of yourself so that you do not get into a hypomanic episode or a depressive episode while you are traveling, especially if you're traveling abroad. This was really not fun to deal with, you guys. Going through a depressive episode in a bed that, yes, it's technically mine because it's my husband's bed that he had growing up that we are now sharing and all of that. But it wasn't the same. I didn't have the comforts that I have when I'm depressed here. When I'm depressed here in the US, my comfort is that couch right over there that I can see that you can't see because it's not on camera. It's that couch. It's that TV. I'm watching Netflix, Hulu, HBO, something. And it's usually involving mac and cheese. That is how my depressive episodes usually play out here in the US. And I just lay around all day. I have an episode called This Is What Depression Feels Like. I'm going to link that in today's show notes in case you haven't heard that and you want a little bit more details. But dealing with depression in India was a whole nother animal, y'all. I'm in a room that is not my home. That's not my main home. It's my second home, technically, but it's not my main home. I didn't have access to HBO or Hulu or Netflix because we were traveling. Netflix has that new stupid thing where you have to only have it on one IP address with your internet. So annoying. HBO doesn't work in India. Yeah, so that sucked. So thank God for Ted Lasso because I literally binged all 3 seasons throughout both of my depressive episodes in India. And just to stop and for a second, if you haven't seen Ted Lasso and you have access to Apple TV, you need to watch it. It is the most uplifting and inspiring TV show I've seen in recent times. And I love it. And I cry every time. And I will constantly binge that when I'm depressed moving forward because it helped. It helped to kind of pull me out of that depression. But dealing with all of this sucked. It super sucked. Being depressed in India sucked. I was on what was supposed to have been an extended vacation, and instead I'm locking myself in my husband's childhood room and watching Ted Lasso on my laptop all day long on a very uncomfortable bed, mind you. The beds over there the mattresses are way thinner on a wooden platform. They're not comfortable. So, yeah, it sucked. It really sucked. And so, something else that I've come to realize, like, okay, so if I am going to be traveling for 3 weeks, let's say 3 weeks, that's my new max. I'm not going to go more than that. And I'm in a new country, a new state, whatever, for 3 whole weeks. If I do not have things planned to do every single day, if I'm not going to a museum, going to this historical site, walking around, shopping, doing this, doing that, if I don't have something planned every single day, then first of all, I need to find something and plan that and stick it in that little empty box. Or I need to no, that is what I need to do. What am I saying? That's what I need to do. Because, guys, this depression came through because we had a whole week of basically nothingness. We didn't have anywhere to go. We didn't have any events. We didn't have stuff happening. Monish was working in the evenings because he works in tech. He can work from home, and he couldn't get a whole 6 weeks off work, so he had to work some days. And so we could do some stuff during the day, but 6 p.m. till, time for bed, there was just nothing we could do because he had to work. So I had to just entertain myself at his parents' house, which is very slow and very boring for somebody like me who needs to constantly be busy. Because I'm pretty sure the phrase is, an idle mind is the devil's playground. So me not having enough stuff to do actually was part of the problem as to why I sunk into depression. Coupled with the fact that I didn't have a routine going on. I wasn't eating healthy every single day. I couldn't eat raw fruits and vegetables, so forget having a salad, because if you don't know anything about India, it's kind of like Mexico. Like how us from the United States, when we go to Mexico, we can't drink the water. Same thing in India. You can't drink the water if you're, from the West. So you have to drink bottled water, which also means that you cannot have fruits and vegetables that have been rinsed by the tap water because it has that same bacteria and that will destroy your stomach. Trust me, I have learned this the hard way more than once. And if you want to read more and learn more about India and these kind of things, I am going to stick an article I wrote about what to expect when traveling to India. I'm going to throw that in the show notes so you can find more info there. But I wasn't able to, eat healthy foods as much as I would have liked. I had so much temptation on all of these non-healthy foods. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't getting up at a certain time. I was staying up till like 3 a.m. most nights, just like watching Ted Lasso. I didn't have purpose. I didn't have purpose for a whole week. And what that did is that allowed depression to seep on in. So my new thing, okay, if I'm traveling, has to be 3 weeks or less. If I don't have stuff to do every single day, then I'm going to have to plan something. And maybe one of those things that I plan is exercise. Finding an exercise class. Walking. Walking is tremendously good exercise. It's really good for you. Something like that. And I also need to have some positive reading material on hand with me and something that is entertaining too. Something that's engaging and will keep me focused. Because the books that I brought with me, they weren't entertaining enough. So I wasn't wanting to continue to read them, which is why I was watching Ted Lasso till 3 a.m. instead of reading my book and falling asleep like I usually do. So these were some big major things that got in the way. I hate to admit this, but it is absolutely true, so we are spilling the beans. But I was not taking my medication like I was supposed to. And let me give you the 2 reasons why. And they are excuses, but this is why I wasn't doing it. The first one was that I didn't set my alarm to take my morning meds. Here in the US, I have an alarm 7 a.m. every day that goes off and tells me to take my morning meds. In India, we were staying up late, we were going to events that were late, we were doing things, and I had no idea what time I was waking up every day. Some days I would wake up at 6 a.m. Some days I would wake up at 9 or 10. I had no idea. Sometimes I would have to be out the door by 7 a.m. So there was not a good time where I could set an alarm and have it consistent for every single day to remind me to take my meds. Because it's like, okay, sure, I could have put 9:30. Let's say I put 9:30 every day. There was at least 4 different days. Actually, no. There was probably at least 7 different days of that trip where I was awake, dressed, and out the door before 9:30. At least 7 different days, if not more. So that wouldn't have worked. The alarm would have gone off. I would have been out of the house. I wouldn't have had my meds with me. It wouldn't have worked. So yes, it could be an excuse that I didn't set an alarm and I didn't at least try. If you're saying that, I agree with you. I should have at least tried. Trying is better than not trying. But I didn't try. I didn't try hard enough. And so I wasn't taking my morning meds every single day like I was supposed to. And then my evening meds, I have the same med that I take in the morning and the evening. Like it's just like a morning dose and an evening dose, exact same thing. But in the evenings, I also add one other medication, which is for specifically depression, because I've been struggling with that a lot in 2023. But here's the thing. You have to take this one with food, and it will also make you drowsy. So the first couple of nights, I completely just forgot. Like I just did. I didn't have it, next to where I brush my teeth, because they don't have counters next to the sink like they do here in the US. Like it's literally a freestanding sink. I couldn't just leave my meds next to that because there was no space for it. So that was, an excuse there. And then the thing too was that you have to eat. I'm eating at different times every single day. There was one instance when I finally remembered to take this med. And guess what? I threw up because I hadn't eaten, and it causes stomach problems if you don't eat. So I went and I threw up. And then I didn't take it again for the rest of the trip because I was like, oh no, fuck this. I'm not going to throw up every night. Like, nobody likes to do that. So I just stopped taking that one, which also probably affected why depression came through. Away from home for way too long. I am not having any sort of routine, and I'm not taking my meds like I'm supposed to. Wow, that is a literal recipe for disaster. And that's what I did. And it sucked. And it could have been better. I should have taken better care of myself. I should have planned better. I think that was the biggest problem, is that I didn't plan well enough. I didn't think it through enough. I didn't understand that overstimulation in India was going to just destroy me for this long of a period of time. It was too much. I really don't know how to better explain it to you, but like one of the things that here's a good example. So boundaries aren't really a thing in India. It's not talked about. People don't do it. Again, it's a very, very highly dense population in a small amount of land. So people are just sitting on top of each other, basically. There's just not enough space to go around. And a lot of times, too, it's multiple generations are living in the same household. So, for example, like my husband, when he was growing up, he and his sister shared a room. His parents had a room, and then also their grandparents had rooms because the grandparents lived in the house, too. It was 3 generations of people. That's a lot of people under one roof. And so he and his sister had to share a room because they didn't have enough space for everybody to all have their own rooms like they try to do for most of us here in the U.S. So how can you really have boundaries when you don't even have your own personal space? You never have your own personal space. And to, better explain that, we learned the hard way that if we did not lock the door before going to bed and we were trying to sleep in, if the maid shows up and she's cleaning the house, she doesn't give a shit if you're in there sleeping. She opens the door. Oh, it's not locked. Great. She comes in and she opens the blinds and lets the sun in. She starts sweeping and mopping and doing all the things that she's supposed to do because that's her job. She doesn't care that we're laying in bed asleep. That she does not care. That does not bother her whatsoever. But obviously it would bother us, especially if we were out till 3 in the morning, which happened on multiple occasions with all the weddings and stuff that was happening. So yeah, that's just kind of an explanation of just a lack of boundaries. There was no knocking on the door. No, are you guys in here? It's just, nope, we just barge in and we keep doing what we need to do because that's what we're supposed to do. So that is something that I definitely, again, did not take into consideration was the overstimulation because it's never been a problem before because I've never been in India for more than 3 weeks at a time. So yeah, so for those of you listening who maybe you want to start traveling but you haven't, or maybe you're afraid to travel because it's going to mess with your routine, or you're not sure how your bipolar disorder is going to handle it, or maybe you're anxious or whatever. First of all, I want to stop and say that travel is the best education you could ever get. I have heard so many people say that. I will continue to say that. I 1000% agree with that. It opens your mind to the world and how it actually works and how other people live and how to have more empathy and compassion for other types of people. I truly believe that traveling is so important and that we should all be engaging in it. But also, I want to make sure that you understand that your bipolar disorder should not hold you back from traveling. Your mental health should not hold you back from traveling. You are capable of doing these things. You are capable of going out into the world and experiencing it. You are. And it might be scary to go to a new place. It might be scary to not do a routine for a week or a weekend, whatever have you. But I do think it is super important that we all go out and do it. And bipolar disorder, most specifically, is not a disability that should hold you back from that. That is my personal belief. I, unfortunately, when I was younger, was made to believe that I had a disability because of my bipolar disorder. I remember being told by one of my mom's friends that my mom was afraid for me to move to Houston by myself, which I did in 2014. She was afraid for me to move up here by myself because I have bipolar disorder and that I'm not capable of moving to a big city and living on my own. Obviously, I proved her wrong. I've been here 10 years now. But that's the thing, guys, is that if somebody tries to tell you that you can't do something because you have bipolar disorder, first of all, if they're not a licensed professional, fuck their opinions. Fuck them. Because who is this person here to tell you what you can and can't do? If they're not your doctor giving you medical advice on things, don't listen to them. If you want to go out and do something, if you feel like you are capable of doing it, or if you can figure out how to do it, please do it. Go do what you want to do. Go live your life. Having bipolar disorder should not stop you from doing anything. That's my personal opinion. It should not. I am going to say that how we manage our bipolar disorder is going to affect our lives and the quality of our lives. And actually, that is a great segue into that we are going to talk about that in the next episode. We're going to talk about how to manage bipolar disorder Bailey's way. We're going to talk about how I do it, because what works for me might not work for you, but there are some key ingredients that were told to me by my therapist that I know she tells to other people too. that we're going to discuss that should be part of your daily life into helping yourself. That's all we can do, guys. We can only help ourselves. We're the only person who can help ourselves and the only person who can save ourselves. And to wrap things up, I should have wrote some things down. But yeah, so all in all, you guys, the thing with travel and bipolar disorder is you are capable of doing it. You do need to have a plan. You need to do some research on where you're going, what's happening there. You also need to make sure that you have a plan for your medication and take care of that and make sure you're taking that on a regular basis. I also would throw in the fact that you should probably check food and make sure you're going to get nutritious, healthy food at least once a day while you're traveling. It can be hard. I understand. There's lots of temptation. And the fifth thing I want to throw out is if you're not walking around all day while you're traveling, find some small way to get in a little bit of exercise. Just some walking, something light. It will boost your mood. It's great for you for a million different reasons. And yeah, so that is where I messed up with my most recent travel. And I hope that this was helpful or at least eye-opening to any of you guys tuning in. But until next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Distress to Joyful Bailey's Way. Head on over to whatisheybellsdoing.com to find the resources mentioned throughout this episode. Be sure to follow the show on Instagram at DistressToJoyful_Bailey's Way and on Facebook at Distress to Joyful Bailey's Way. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating on your favorite podcast listening platform or write a review on Audible or Apple Podcasts. Lastly, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with new episode releases. Until next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye!